of the day. So that is why we have requested the DGM SIDBI officials to take the seminar on this. As we all know, friends, the contribution of MSME to Indian economy and GDP is enormous. And so as the contribution of all the financial sectors and the organizations. So SIDBI is one among another important organization, which they have nurtured the many MSMEs and helped many MSME to grow. So, and we chartered accountants is also helping MSME in all their finances, compliance part. So it is a very proud moment that Indian MSME is being slowly recognized by the global also, and Indian MSME is also growing to a larger aspect and becoming the large corporates. So first session for the today's will be taken by the DGM SIDBI Sri Prasad sir, and second session will be taken by Chartered Accountant Sri Mani Padmanabham sir, who has immense experience in virtual CFO services, and he's been guiding many startups and MSMEs on the financing and the compliance part. So with this, I once again thank all the members for joining the session on time. It's already 60 plus. By the time the session starts, I'm sure it will cross 100 and 200. So I thank all the members who have joined till now, and I also thank the speaker of the day for taking our invitation. And over to you, Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman sir. Now, before we start the session by the speaker, we will have our President and Vice President message through virtual mode. I request office to play the President's and Vice President's message, please.
Santosh, audio.
Santosh, audio రావట్లేదు. సంతోష్ ఆడియో రావట్లేదు. సంతోష్ ఆడియో రావట్లేదు. ఫస్ట్ నుంచి ప్లీజ్. Santosh,
Ravi, I think there is some technical glitch. I request you to please
we'll proceed with the session. So before I request the today's speaker to give his formal speech, now it's my privilege to introduce today's speaker. RVR Prasad, presently DGM SIDBI. He is a commerce graduate with PG diploma in computer systems and public relations. He joined SIDBI early back in August 1994 itself. He has overall 28 years of overall experience in SIDBI. Worked in various capacities in different geographies across India. Worked as risk management vertical at corporate office during July 2013 to June 2017. He worked as BO head of SIDBI branch at Morbi, Gujarat during July 2017 to June 2020 before moving to Hyderabad in October 2020. He worked as head of Express Loan Service Center, Hyderabad, catering to 6 states till March 2022. At present, he is BO head of SIDBI branch at Hyderabad, catering to Telangana. With this brief introduction, I request RVR Prasad sir to take over the session. Please, sir.
Good evening, sir. It's a pleasure interacting with chartered accountants, and as Laddaji has said, the right word he has used was you are the catalysts. Catalyst is a very interesting word in chemistry. Briefly, I was a student of chemistry also. So catalyst is one who doesn't get too much involved with the process, but yet the process is smoothened, hastened by a catalyst. Thank you for ICAI to choose SIDBI as the agency to interact on the MSME day. It's a proud moment for all of us that MSME sector has grown over the years, and the contributions are always acknowledged across all forums. Today, I don't have any formal presentation, but I have some brief notings I have made, and I'll have my interaction revolve around these points, and we could have interactive session. You could interrupt me anytime you want as I speak. SIDBI, as you all know, has completed 32 years of its existence. Over the period, SIDBI has been evolving itself to cater to developing the entire ecosystem of MSMEs. Today, as we speak, yeah, is my voice clear? Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right. As we speak today, Saturday was our AGM, and our balance sheet size has been, our asset size has been 2.47 lakh crores. In fact, this is a very momentous achievement for us, and still we continue, 67% of our portfolio continues to be refinanced, but we do have a sizable presence in direct finance. Direct finance in the sense we lend directly to MSMEs. We have quite a good presence across the country. We have around 80 branches across the country and around 15 regional offices. Due to constraint of branch network, SIDBI has always been devising schemes, and we have been playing the role of market makers, or we are the pioneers in creating the ecosystem. On the ecosystem, if I have to speak, under our belt, we have a rating agency called SMERA. We have smaller loans. We have floated Mudra in partnership with Government of India. And the most popular scheme across MSMEs, smaller of the MSMEs, is credit guarantee. That is CGTMSE, is floated by SIDBI. Venture capital also, we have an arm based out of Mumbai. Asset recovery, whether we like it or no, there are failures in businesses, there are NPAs in the banking system, and to cater to that kind of a segment also, we have an asset recovery company called ISAR. And as I have during my journey with SIDBI over the years, I have seen that SIDBI has been playing a very active role in promotion and development, and also in technology transfer initiatives. We have a separate entity based out of Delhi, which helps MSMEs in technology transfers. This is the ecosystem in which we are working. And I have to mention here the promotion and developmental role we play in microfinance sector. If any of the enthusiasts in the group have been following the developments in microfinance sector, SIDBI has been the pioneer. We had a SIDBI Foundation for micro credit, and with that we have nurtured so many MFIs, the so-called SKAs, for so many for political reasons or other reasons. Many of the MFIs are not doing well. They have gone out of business, but as a country, we still have a huge microfinance or microcredit portfolio. And I am proud to say I was also involved in scaling up this business when I was in Hyderabad during 2008 to 2010, where my portfolio of microfinance has gone up from 800 to 2,200 crores in a span of 2 years. That's the kind of scale we have achieved in microfinance. We still continue to play a role in microfinance, and that's how government has placed its confidence in floating Mudra in partnership with SIDBI. Now, coming to the real interesting thing for this evening is you all are helping MSMEs in raising funds, be it term loans or working capital or any other purpose. SIDBI has been devising various schemes, and SIDBI has always been getting some concessional funding from, be it from government or multilateral agencies or bilateral agencies or from the Reserve Bank of India. And such low-cost funds we have always been making available to MSMEs, and with these kind of funds we could experiment in the market. We did have a risk capital fund also. The mezzanine funding product for MSMEs was introduced for the first time in India by SIDBI. For various reasons, it could not be taken forward. We could not scale up, but that is a gap we still now, as this is a very informed group, I would want to throw this idea in this group that risk capital is one product. If as many of you also have some voice in the government, the need of the hour for scaling up businesses in MSMEs is risk capital. If there is anything in short supply in MSMEs is capital. If there is anything in short supply, because the supply is too much. Now there is a lot of competition among banks to fund MSMEs, of course, the well-performing MSMEs. But even in these MSMEs, you will appreciate for obvious reasons, they have not been mopping up their net worth, and their capital requirements have been mounting. While the banks are there to fund, unless the capital is also mopped up, the scaling up to the desired levels cannot be achieved. On these, with these few introductory words, I would like to get into the real business of talking about our schemes. We have given some very good names to our schemes, which really speak of the content or the intent of these schemes. We have, for funding the greenfield projects, we have devised a scheme called Sthapan. Sthapan, as we all know, it is for setting up, right? This is the scheme which looks at MSME units being grounded, and we fund the greenfield projects. Whatever may be the industry segment, we are with such entities. And another popular scheme which has caught up in the market today, I don't think any bank can compete with SIDBI on this product, is Arise. Arise, as the name itself denotes, it takes this is for the purpose of taking the unit to the next level. The units which have been in existence for more than 3 years with profitable track record, up to 3 crores, we are funding 100%. With 25 to 35% of margin as fixed deposit kept with SIDBI. We are doing 100% funding. This is akin to your NBFC funding schemes. But if you might ask me, if NBFC, why should SIDBI get into this kind of an area where NBFCs have been doing for so many years? But the cost of funds, the interest cost is much higher when it comes to these NBFCs. I have given the SIDBI has pitched in a scheme akin to NBFCs, akin to NBFC scheme, but the interest rates are much lower. I am even lending at 7.5–8% for this kind of intervention. And if it is above 3 crores, we have normal promoters contribution and other security and such other initiatives for under Rise scheme. In Hyderabad, across India, in fact, this scheme up to 3 crores. We also have partnered with more than 120 OEMs where they are giving us the leads, and we are funding these machines under this 100% funding initiative. 100% of the requirement is funded, and 25 to 35%, depending on the risk perception of the proposal, we are giving 100%. The interest rates range between 7 to 8%. That is post this 90 BPS increase in repo. And we have this may be news or music to your ears, most of you, because working capital is a product everybody thinks that SIDBI does not do. Working capital as a CC also is a product with SIDBI. We are doing in a big way. In fact, my profile, if it was worth giving attention to, you must have heard that I was in Gujarat as a branch head for 3 years. I had a 300 crore portfolio of working capital alone, that is CC. Now, the doubt will arise in your mind as to how SIDBI can give a CC kind of a product. We have partnered with Yes Bank and City Union Bank, whose platform we use and dispense credit under CC limits. The limit is set by us, the sanction is done by SIDBI, the monthly DP is set by SIDBI, but we have certain APIs with these two banks which will seamlessly integrate with our systems, and you will know that you will not know that the SIDBI is working in the background. In the foreground, you'll only see Yes Bank and City Union Bank, but you'll get all the facilities which you have been getting in from the industry, all through from the banking industry. It is akin to any other CC product which is given by other banks. We also have a limited window for your OD facility, that is up to 1.5 crores is the limit we give. Beyond 1.5 crores limit, we always have a CC limit. In Hyderabad also, we have started in a big way this year. Ever since I have joined this branch in April, we have already done 15 crores of working capital CC limits. I am open to even take over from other banks because my interest rates and my capabilities are much more competitive than what they are in the market. Clearly, I have a team which will deliver what we promise. My strength is my team here. We have an express loan service center also based out of Hyderabad, who are exclusively into back office appraisal and processing. Coming to further schemes, we have solar rooftop is another scheme which is catching up. We have and green finance is another initiative. SIDBI is very keen to partner with the agencies which are into energy saving or green technologies, energy efficient technologies. If somebody is adopting, we have certain risk sharing facility. This risk sharing facilities can give as high as 75% cover, which means this takes care of my asset coverage up to 75% in certain projects. And the size could also be good size. Further, we have recently introduced a working capital term loan facility. There are certain catalysts like you. There are some catalysts like you who advise that the unit should ultimately become a debt-free entity over a period of time. If CC is the product, as you all know, CC is a product which is which is of longer term than a long-term loan. As long as the unit is surviving, the CC continues, but it is catching up. Maybe if you see the Western world, CC is not a product at all. Working capital is a product. They take pride in becoming debt-free. If such customers of yours, such associates of yours who are wanting to exit out of the bank funding over a period of time, working capital term loan is a good product. We have a limit on that. I can only give up to 2 crores as working capital term loan, but this is not to supplement the working capital. This will be on standalone basis. One should not be availing a working capital or OD facility from somebody else in such situations, because the intent I have already told you. The intent behind giving this working capital term loan is to enthuse people, motivate people to come out of this debt, and if they want to come out of this, if they want to be debt free, this is the right product for such entities. This is a product which will give you with a repayment period of 3 years and a moratorium of 6 months. If I have to talk about my book size, I have already told you 2.47 lakh crores is my balance sheet size, and 67% of that is my refinance and refinance book. And we have a huge portfolio even in NBFC. We fund NBFC. We give term loans to NBFCs, mainline NBFCs. This is the overview of what SIDBI does for MSMEs, and we also have, as we speak today we had as a MSME Day in remembrance, or as a celebration of MSME Day. In GD Metla Association, we have sponsored a medical camp, blood donation and medical camp and vaccination center in the morning. In fact, we were there, I and GM. As far as dispensation of credit is concerned, as I told you, we have a full-fledged express loan service center which will cater to my USP today as I speak is delivery speed. My delivery speed is much more efficient than the entire industry. That's what I claim today proudly. And we have a regional office here. Our general manager sits here, and the decision making up to 15 crores is locally done. So this is another advantage we have, and my response time to visit any unit or meet the customer is a couple of hours. I have a full-fledged team. I'm always on the feet, so I am available over phone, email. I think Ladaji will share my number and my email ID to all of you. And our response time is just a couple of hours. It's not even a day. If I get an email today, in a couple of hours time, either my person will be there or I am there with the customer. That's the kind of penetration SIDBI is wanting to make, or it has already started to make in the market. And further, the market will speak about SIDBI's delivery mechanism. This is what I have as an introductory remarks. And if we have Mr. Ladda, we can have I'm available for any interaction further on this. I wanted to be a bit brief so that we have more time for interaction rather than monologue. Mr. Ladda?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is it from me. And if we could have we can open the forum for discussion.
Okay. So there are certain questions.
In the chat box, if there are questions, I'll just see them. Yeah.
How the annual charges under CGTM is calculated by the bank? The bank does not disclose the same and just say they have received the information from their head office.
No, sir. This I can tell you, it is 2% on the sanction amount. 2% on the sanction amount. That's the fees they charge, and we don't have any add-on to that. Whatever is charged. In fact, during COVID, some schemes we have devised where even CGTMSE fees was also borne by us. Of course, in the normal course, CGTMSE fees has to be borne by the customer. I'll see the other question.
Yeah, can a private limited get financed with SIDBI without any collateral under CGT SME? I think yes.
Yes. Depending on I can't give you a blanket yes, but I have to proposal specific details I'll see, and I'm sure if the unit has the promise, see, as an individual and as an institution, we bank on people more than the security. Even because you are an informed group, I can say there is I was in the risk management vertical for 4 years. So our risk rating is also oriented towards obligor more than the security or anything. Our rating also, we are more interested in the obligor than the security. And personally also, I believe the obligor or the customer is more important for me than the security. If the security is good and if the customer is bad, I'm not here to sell properties and realize money. I'm here to lend for the projects to be set up, and the project should be funding my repayment. This is what is generally the orientation of SIDBI, and more particularly me personally, I am comfortable with good customers. I'm not oriented towards security.
So what are the margin requirement for the promoters for the SIDBI?
Yeah, see, for the Stapan program, that is for greenfield units for setting up, 25% is the minimum. And I don't want to give you a rosy picture, but I'll be comfortable with a minimum margin of 33%. That is a debt equity of 2:1. For an existing unit, even for a debt equity of 3:1 is okay with me. But for a greenfield kind of a situation, I would want to have a 2:1 debt equity.
Okay, I'll talk. Sir, does SIDBI give non-fund based limit also?
Yes, for that is only for small units, because we as a public institution from Reserve Bank of India have approval for non-fund based, in the sense bank guarantee I can give for small units, not for medium units. If you are asking for a PCFC and EBF facility, I'm sorry, we don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, many members are interested to know more about the equity financing by SIDBI. Can you just throw more light on that?
Sir, equity financing per se, it's not a conventional or a brick and mortar kind of a product, though that is done by our SIDBI venture capital entity. I can share their details to you, but they will handle it. Equity, we are not trained, or that's not a product offered at the branch level. That is at the corporate level and at our associate institution, SIDBI Venture Capital Limited. And one other initiative under this is we also fund a lot of funds, state level funds like APIDC Venture Capital and such other funds also. We have our contributions are there in those funds. Directly, we may not get into equity funding at the local level, but our fund of funds across various states, there, in fact, Byju's was also funded by us. A lot of other companies are funded by us.
Okay. Sir, there was some COVID-related products, specific products for manufacturing of COVID-related products. That is, special product was launched by SIDBI at to COVID time to manufacture masks, oxygen concentrators. So, is that scheme still valid, or was only a limited period?
No, sir. That was only a limited window. We gave the interest rates was very subsidized at 5%. With CGTMSC fees also was funded by SIDBI. That was for a limited period. Now we don't have those schemes.
Okay. Okay. So does SIDBI give foreign currency loans?
Yeah, foreign currency term loan, yes, not working capital. If you have a natural hedge, we can always look at, mostly it is dollar denominated loans. We don't have all currencies under our belt. It is only US dollar denominated loans we can give. The markup will be around 3%, 2.5% to 3% markup on the LIBOR, 6 months LIBOR. That will be the interest rate.
Okay. Okay. Foreign currency bank guarantee, sir?
No, sir.
No bank guarantees.
No.
Okay. SIDBI also has how many states the SIDBI has present, sir? AP
all the states across the country we have presence. In some states we have more than one branch. In Gujarat, if you see, we have more than 10 branches. In Maharashtra, we have more than 10 branches. Telangana, we have only one branch. Andhra Pradesh, we have two branches, Vijayawada and Visakhapatnam. Now, branch network, personally, I feel expanding the branch network may not be the requirement, because increasingly people, the new normal after COVID is that increasingly people are dependent on online services. Everybody is connected. So branch network should not limit me from expanding my business. That's what is my take.
The questions, I request members to post the question in Q&A only. I'll be risking, and any members want to talk, we can take them as a panelist. So please raise the hand. We will take them as a panelist. We'll allow them to speak. So request any members. In the meantime, the questions are keep flowing. I'll just take one by one. Sir, can SIDBI extend the working capital finance term loan, working capital term loan to the bank, to the loans which are financed by the banks for the term loans? So already there is finance.
Yes. If, as I said, the working capital term loan up to 2 crores, that's a recent product we have introduced. But that is for the for the units which do not have any working capital or OD facilities. For such units, we can give working capital term loan, because there will be a clash of interest also. No, the working capital banker may not want some other lender to fund the work for working capital purpose. It will be overfinancing. Sometimes the overfinancing is more dangerous than finance not being there. So generally, we don't want to get into that area where overfinancing would happen.
Amit ji, you can ask your question. You have been.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, actually, we have established a company, a manufacturing unit in Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
For which the registered office is Telangana.
Okay.
So, can we avail loan from Telangana for the manufacturing unit at AP?
Very well, sir. I am going to Vijayawada. I'll be in Vijayawada this Saturday. I have some portfolio of around 50 crores in Vijayawada, in and around Vijayawada. If your unit is somewhere nearer to that, I would be too glad to meet you there and see your unit and see how. Vizag, I have a branch. You can visit our branch, or you can connect to my branch head. Mr. Sharma is there as branch head AGM there. You can connect with him, or I can fund. I have a couple of units funded from here also.
How much time it takes to sanction, sir?
What is your requirement? What is your requirement? If
Sir,
you can tell me.
Amit, you can take it offline, sir. The more details of that.
Okay.
Question is
Can
clear.
you share me your email ID?
Yeah, Ladda ji ke paas mera email ID already hai. I will also put it in the chat box right away. You can take it.
Sir, do you, as you said, you have an external credit by SMIRA ratings?
Yes.
So whether it is mandatory, the external rating through CRISIL Care, or you have to still get from SMIRA ratings, or you accept that report on a?
Sir, we have a threshold of 7.5 crores. Only if the funding is more than 7.5 crores, we will require an external rating. If an entity has a rating from bank loan rating from any other agency, we accept that and take it forward. It is, the only thing is, as on that date, the validity of the rating should be there, and there should be this additional funding ke liye, whatever headroom is required in that rating is always for a particular amount, right? If the headroom is there, we will accept that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, now many banks are coming with the products of funding to the stress accounts. Tools, SIDBI also have like to refinance, because after the introduction of IBC, the idea of IBC is to revive the companies who are, so if any companies are struck through various reasons, and so revised finance is the concept that bridge finance to revamp the companies. So based on the assessment and viability of the respective company, definitely TEV study will be done. So do SIDBI also encourages any refinancing or post NPA financing in that way?
Refinancing should not be a problem because that is centralized. The banks take refinance from our head office. We don't have any branch function, doesn't have. If I have to look at from the branch perspective, from the branch functionary, if I have to see any proposal of this kind, I would say if I am the lender, I would want to, as a part of revival, I would want to give additional funding. And for you'll appreciate if somebody else, if some other banker is there, if they don't have the confidence and the new customer, new banker entering and having confidence in revival of the unit, it will be a bit of a challenge. If the existing bank is pitching in and for some genuine reasons they are not able to scale up their funding, probably SIDBI can always part fund such requirements. I can't be stepping into the shoes of the existing lender, definitely not.
Okay. Maybe to the new promoters for buying the IBC units.
General, because sir, usme valuation will be a contentious issue. They will come up with some value and our valuer may not see that kind of a value there, and we waste a lot of time in that.
Okay.
I would want to keep away from such units or such initiatives or such requirements.
So do we have any sector specific products as we had for COVID products? Yeah, related to any states?
We have this. As I was, we have a partial risk sharing facility. Up to 75% of the loan extended, we have certain bilateral funds which guarantee this. Apart from CGT MSE, we invest in we extend loans to green finance and for energy efficient entities. Even ESCOs can also be funded under this initiative. ESCOs are catching up these days. I have one proposal with me. One ESCO has come up with a small loan requirement, 80 lakhs. Of 80 lakhs, we are looking at it.
Okay. Sir, do SIDBI finance the residential and commercial real estate construction company or only into manufacturing?
No, sir. We whatever comes as MSME definition, we limit to that only. Commercial real estate and residential real estate, we will not do.
Okay. And sir, regarding SIDBI, do we have any criteria of TEV study or viability study before a project finance, or you do it through your in-house?
As I told you, we only have a requirement of this rating, project rating requirement is there. If it is a greenfield project and 7.5 crores, more than 7.5 crores is the exposure I am looking at, then we have a rating report requirement, but we don't have any requirement of TEV study. We have, as I told you, we have a very qualified and experienced team in our express loan service center. We are capable enough to assess and take the proposals forward. We don't require any external reports on this. There may be some very, very rare occasion where we would have insisted on that, but it's a very, very rare thing.
Okay.
At least in my entire career, only once or twice I would have asked for a TEV report.
Okay. Thank you. Sandeep Hegde, sir, you have raised the hand and you've been allowed to talk. You want to talk? Sandeep ji. I think it's by mistake. Sir, what is the minimum amount of funding and what is the maximum cap per unit and per borrower exposure or per group exposure?
See, for be it a borrower or group, I have a 50 crore cap, right? And minimum ticket size I would see is 1 crore. If it is less than that, also if the promoter is genuine, if I'm able to see the opportunity trajectory of in 2-3 years time that person going to scale up, I would invest or lend to such entities also.
Sir, any women specific product or any relating to any social backward class product, SC, like the
No,
security?
sir. No, sir. No, sir. All everybody is on the same footing, and all are treated on the same footing, and we encourage everybody to be on the same footing.
Okay, okay. Sir, one more couple of questions now, sir. Basically, as SIDBI been funding since last 3 decades, and SIDBI is already into funding large corporates more than in various sectors. So, do you have any state-specific product like any like Telangana is good for rice and poultry related. MP has related agro-based wheat and other thing, and what do you say, flour mills. So, do we have any state-specific products like many banks? Because if you go into interior part of Telangana, Adilabad, and other thing, there will be more cotton ginning mills, and because depending upon the area of cultivation, many banks and like APSFC, the state finance corporations, have district-specific products to cater to develop the MSME hub. Like so now the concentration of government is also want to create a cluster of unit in that area related. So do you have any such product, or will we have a nationalized standardized product of funding?
No, we have standardized products, but if there is a cluster coming up, and if I see an opportunity of 30 to 40 units or in that range, if I see some cluster, we can always devise a scheme in consultation with our head office and take it forward. We can have a cluster specific approach. If I have a cluster of say 25, 30 units in one cluster, because my transaction cost will be very, very minimal, that cost I can always transfer to my customers, right?
Great. So friends, sir, the SIDBI can come up with any industrial area funding for multiple units. They also, like as sir said, in any cluster coming up, they can help all the units in that specific area. Like we have a Fab City and a different type of cluster that are coming up in APIC. They can have a customized service products to them. Hanmantlu sir is very senior member from Hyderabad, sir. Hanmantlu sir, you have been allowed to talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Pasagaru, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, sir, one thing, sir, many of the MSMEs, their loans are taken on the security of personal and collateral security.
Yeah.
But they're always face problem of working capital.
Yes, sir.
Because all the securities are given to term loan by fixed assets loans. But they may be having insufficient low security for working capital. Will you extend working capital any product like job based or installment based, something like that? So
yes, sir. Yeah, complete. Go ahead, sir.
Bills purchasing like that, temporary advance at least, so that they can get finance for again continue the production.
Yeah, one other in the ecosystem, one other agency we have is Receivable Exchange of India Limited. All the bills of MSMEs are traded on this exchange, and the bills are discounted. This is one initiative. And another thing is, I have just mentioned, I am open if it is a genuine case, and if for some reason the bank is not able to enhance the limits, and if you feel that the SIDBI should look at such entities, I am open to have one-on-one discussion with those entities, and even I am prepared to take over such funding from commercial banks. I have an initiative. I have a window for takeover of term loans and working capital from other banks, provided the account conduct has been good, and if as Ledaji has said, senior people like you, I'm sure you will not partner with people who are not really serious about their business. If any such specific proposal is there, I am available one-on-one to discuss and see how we can help such units. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sir, one more question from us is like SIDBI, as per the definition of MSME, even the trade sector has been defined in the service definition. So whether the traders will also be funded, or you're into pure manufacturing and service oriented related, because definition of MSME has now changed. the widen of the scope and the definition of is also increased, because many of our chartered accountant have CNF agents, many of the chartered accountant dealers, distributors in their client portfolios.
Sir, as of now, as I told you, we have been market makers in various schemes. As of now, our hands are full with service sector and manufacturing sector. That schemes for trading, they are all in the pilot stage. They are still, we are devising those schemes, and for that, branch network also is an impediment for us. We have a very small branch network for traders and all. If it is always ideal that you see the stocks, it is always ideal that you inspect the stocks as frequently as possible. That kind of an intervention, as of now, we don't have. Maybe moving forward, we should get that also under our belt.
Okay. Sir, and the central government scheme of 59 minutes loan, public sector, the government of India introduced during COVID time, is SIDBI part of that? Or,
yes,
yeah.
It was an initiative of SIDBI only. It was an initiative of SIDBI.
Okay. So members who want to apply online can also go to the website of the central government for the online loan application, or they can also visit SIDBI website.
Yeah, this is a very informed group. That's why I say that 59 minutes will give you an in principle kind of sanction. It gives you a false promise, if I may use that word. But genuine specific requirements, please apply in that, but have a one-to-one discussion. Tell your customers to have one-to-one chat with the banks and take the things forward. It's not that there is misinformation in the market that you apply there and the loan gets sanctioned. No, it doesn't work. It will only give you that you are eligible for a limit of this much. And the process of sanction is entirely in the normal course. One has to go through. It only eases the decision on the part of the banker that will only facilitate the decision making at the banker level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shiva Kumar sir, you had some question. Please ask.
Yeah, good evening, sir. My name is Shiva Kumar. I'm kind of in touch with some of the SMEs for funding. I find most often, as somebody else pointed out, the banks, and even now you just mentioned SIDBI, are looking at 1 crore and above loans. But there are many of them who are wanting below 1 crore, maybe 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs kind of loans. So which is the ideal forum where they could go and apply for a loan and get it quickly, disbursement within 30 days, 30 calendar days?
Yes, sir. Up to 10 lakhs Mudra loans can be done. Okay, all the banks have that mandate. I don't see in that segment of 10 lakh there is any issue. The issue is beyond 10 lakhs, and see a greenfield project. As you all are playing the catalyst role, and as you are an informed group, I am taking the liberty of saying this. A greenfield project with 20-30 lakhs of outlay, is it what is the survival chances of such units? The fixed costs have gone up so much. Everything, even machinery also has become, the fixed costs have gone up. Even your machinery costs, steel prices having gone up, it has had an impact on the machinery cost. That kind of 20-30, if it is an existing unit going for expansion, buying a machine, even 30 lakhs, 25 lakhs also I fund. As I told you, Arise is a scheme under which I fund those kind of units. A greenfield project being set up with 30-40 lakhs of outlay, I have my own doubts about their viability and survival, sir. If you have a real good proposal, probably we can look at it, but in all probability such units will be housed in a leased premises. As a banker, how will I derive some comfort in such kind of an entity is the question.
Sir, many banks have been aggressively lending on the channel financing distribution network. Suppose a Maruti is there, they have dealer network. So through channel financing, they fund. So if any of the upcoming sectors are there, if does SIDBI also lend on channel financing based on the dealership of the reputation of the primary distributor network, and then it lends to distributor network, or you have to go one-on-one apply and take? Because channel financing is a very easy financing, and it is only given for a specific lifting the material. Then in 45 days the limit need to be closed. So there is complete setup. Set of like all NBFCs have been doing, like reputed Tata Steel, all big corporates. So whether we have any system of channel financing also with our bank?
Yeah, that is, as you have said, Tata Steel and all these are working capital related products. These are raw material funding products. Channel financing for fixed capital goods we have tied up with 120 to 130 OEMs across the country, where we are getting leads. Say if an MSME sends them a request for a machine, maybe 30, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, such leads are passed on to us, and we directly contact this MSME unit and take the loan requirement forward. As I told you, vis-a-vis NBFCs, our interest rates are maybe 1/3 of what the market rates are. So this is how we have, but as far as working capital or the channel financing for raw material, we don't have any problem.
Okay. Friends, any of friend have any more doubt to be asked, or any other questions to be asked? Sir?
There is a question in chat box. Sir, can you see apply for a loan on the 59 minutes website on behalf of the client?
I'm not sure, sir. I'll just have to find out and come back to you. I'm not very sure, because the ticket sizes and all, I have been to Gujarat or here, I have been handling customers directly. This 59 minutes platform, I have not had any hands-on experience. I'll have to get back to you. I'll have to find out and get back to you. In fact, they have a chat box, or they on the website itself, there are some contact numbers which should help you get those. If it is not resolved, I am just giving my email ID in the this, and you please send me a mail. I'll have it resolved. I've given you my email ID. rvprasad@sidbi.in, and my mobile number is 869206100.
Does SIDBI lend to service sector also?
Yes, sir. We have a portfolio of hospitals and hotels. We fund. Briefly during COVID, we were before COVID also there was a glut in hotel industry, but now I think there is demand has picked up in hotel industry. We fund hospitals and hotels and diagnostic centers.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Fortunately, our Central Council member Dayaniva Sharma sir is also joined now. Welcome, Daya sir.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Thank you, Ravi.
Good evening, Daya sir.
Welcome, sir.
If the first session is about to over, sir, DGM SIDBI Prasad sir has taken us through the complete SIDBI process and the products offering to the MSME. So it was very interactive sessions. Almost 40-50 questions were raised by them. We have answered them. So we request for your words of wisdom.
Thank you very much, Deepak, and Prasad sir, thank you very much for joining us. It makes a whole lot of difference for us that a person like you comes, shares your view, and give an openness about the banking system in the entire financial world. It makes a whole lot of difference for people also to understand in a larger manner. As you are aware, sir, that this is a National MSME Day, and let me just share with you one fact that Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has actually made a separate committee for this particular thing, and we are also creating space for all the MSME and startups to come and reach out to us for any kind of financial, advisory support which is there. And we have also introduced the concept of, mentoring the MSMEs. Prasad sir, as you are aware, that most of the MSME definition is changed now, and it has gone up to 250 crores. And as you all people will be aware that at the national level, the biggest challenge is to get a right CFO in place, because today at the national level, state level, the kind of opportunities or might be the funds which are available, the schemes which are available in a larger manner is not known to many people, sir. So we are now looking at for a support system which we want to give it to MSME at a larger level, where not only the banking and financial institutions guidance which we need to give to make them understand the importance of their true reporting and true financial reporting, but also that the kind of avenues which are available to expand their business. To earlier we had a concept of only debt or might be equity. Now there is a concept of quasi-equity which is coming up. And more importantly, a lot of companies which are coming from abroad are not only looking for only large acquisitions or large partnership, but they are also looking at for MSMEs which are exclusive in the process. And all the banking sectors have actually made that vertical very strong in the process, so that the exposure of those banks are limited and the impact is not there. So the thought process which Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has is from a point of view that we want to do that handholding where the CFOs are not there, guide them on what kind of incentives which are available from the government, and also suggest which is the right banking approach they need to move forward. So our pledge is that we need to ensure that larger portion of MSME is doing a great job, because they are actually contributing to the, when you talk about a $5 trillion economy, they actually play a very pivotal role. And fortunately, in the country like India, in last 5 years, when GST has been implemented, now the level playing ground is being created for all the good quality companies. And today for the bankers also, it is becoming very important to see the GST reporting which is there. So that is giving you also that kind of confidence that yes, the transactions are moving in a right direction and the support is being rightly given. So there is lot such things which I can deliberate, but yes, you might have already talked about it, so I don't want to take further more time. But only compliment to my Hyderabad branch, which is doing a fantabulous job to ensure that a person from a banking sector like you has been introduced to our members at large. And yes, we'll reach out to you. Might be we can also create an atmosphere where we can create a exhibition of all the banking services which are available with different banks, because some banks play a very different role when you talk about education loan or any other loan. But MSME loans, again, there is a focus, and that literacy which need to be going to all the promoters is something which we want to promote in a true sense. So we look forward for more and more of your engagement with ICI, so that we can give that exposure to our people, not only to chartered accountants, because chartered accountants ultimately are the brand ambassadors of their client also. And they can reach out back to their clients saying that, this is the kind of thing which is there in the new banking system. And this can actually add a value to their entire business growth story. So with this, Deepak, thank you very much for inviting me. Though I was a little late, but I think I joined at the right time. That's the only thing which I can tell. Continue doing good work.
Sure, sir. With your leadership and guidance, we will continue to conduct these type of programs which are useful to our members. Now, sir, shall I conclude the session, sir? Prasad, sir? Our next speaker also there.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's all yours, sir. My contact details are with you.
Yes.
I'll be too glad to interact with you any time. And I'm here to do business. So business is what is what is my motivation. So I'm sure without business, none of us can have the luxury of spending this kind of a time. So let us enjoy each other's company and do good business and grow together. That's all for me.
Sir,
Welcome. Good evening, Mani sir. Sir, the second session.
any remarks, Deepak?
Good evening, sir.
Well,
Good evening,
Can
good
I-
evening, sir.
Can I sign off, Deepak ji?
Sir,
sir, 1 minute.
One
1
second.
second, sir.
Yeah, secretary. Ravi sir.
Sir, let me thank you very much for on behalf of Hyderabad branch of SIRC of ICI for sparing your valuable time, though it is your business time. And I request office to share this virtual memento to sir as a token of respect. Santosh, please. Thank you very much, sir. This is a small.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful interacting with you. And
Thank you so much.
thanks to technology, so many of us could get together in spite of
Yes, sir.
another threat of COVID. Let us hope and pray that there's no other wave of COVID, and we all are happy and healthy and take our businesses forward. Thank you so much.
Prasad sir, one particular request, if you permit me.
Yes, sir.
If you can just share with us our branch, the facilities or might be the schemes which are available with SIDBI.
Yes, sir.
That will be of a great help. What our branch will do is they'll circulate that document, single page or 2-page document to all our chartered accountants who can actually use it as a handy document rather than getting lost in the process.
Sure, sir. I have two things to say here. One, my website is quite interactive. All the schemes are there. Nevertheless, I will send that mail right away to your Ladaji and others, and I'll be too glad to interact one-on-one with any of your members.
Sir, with this, we conclude the first session. Thank you very much, sir, once again. Now I request C.A. Chandrababu to introduce our another speaker, Mani Padmanabhan, sir, who is very famous for CFO services. Please, Chandrababu.
Yes, sir.
Ladaji, I am signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Very good evening to Mani Padmanabhan, sir, and welcome to all our professional members.
Chandrababu, sound koncham pencil.
Very good evening, sir. Very good evening to all of you.
Hi, Mani.
Hi. How are you?
All well.
Yes, sir. And
Hi, Deepak.
I'm happy to introduce about Mani Padmanabhan, sir. It's my pleasure. Mani Padmanabhan, sir, is multi-domain finance and people leader, author, life fellow member at IOD, independent director. 3 decades in financial leadership, like a CFO and risk assurance, India and US listed entities, early stage companies and startups. CFO services and advisory to startups and SMEs. And currently a partner with CFO Bridge LLC, advisor to Productivity, advisor in Influnum Growth, advisor and mentor to startups and early stage companies. Mani Padmanabhan sir, corporate background is head of governance, risk and compliance with Dr. Reddy's Laboratories between 2013 to 2015, and CFO with Vodafone West Limited, INR 5,000 business companies between 2007 to 2013. Finance head Coca-Cola between 2001 to 2004. Prior corporate exercise comprising 25 years given in such below. His professional achievements are led business restructuring post M&A resulting in 4-fold increase revenue and multi-fold increase in profitability. Companies created business long range plans and supported business with decision support to fuel 100% plus growth year on year for 3 years. Designed strengthened governance frameworks and programs and worked actively with board committees in India and US listed entities. Created innovative funding structure giving operating flexibility and substantiality, reducing cost of borrowings. Generated huge cash savings from innovative tax positions and business restructuring. Always been a natural business partner and people leader. And his other achievements are authored Decoding Risk Management and Introduction, possibly the first book on ERM by an Indian author. Articles on governance, ethics covered by international journals and magazines. actively contributed to women and children education for last 18 years. And his professional experience is CFO services management and board advisory from 2015, assurance head compliance ERM and SOX between 2013 to 15, and Dr. Reddy's reporting to committees of board, CFO at Vodafone West between 2017 to 13, largest business entity for Vodafone India, deeply engaged in transmission and business restructuring post M&A, leadership roles in Tata Steel, Rohida Specialties, Coca-Cola, Airtel, and others between 1991 to 2007. With this introduction, I request Mani Padmanabhan sir to take a speech, please.
Thank you very much for your kind words of introduction. I really didn't know you will read my entire CV. It is so nice of you. I'm glad I gave you a one-page one and not a three-page one. Probably would have, spent more time on it. So thanks a lot. But honestly, it was very, very nice of you to cover every bit of what I've done. And honestly, still learning, as I keep telling. And every consulting, every assignment is a new assignment. Every business context sometimes is also something which one would not have, done earlier or experienced earlier. So it's been a very, very self-learning experience, especially the last 5 years that you mentioned, which is post 7 years, sorry, 2015, the period after that. Yeah, so thanks a lot. Good to be here. Glad to be here, and I welcome all the uh, participants who are there. I can see about 170 of them. So impressive audience. So thanks a lot for being part of this session. I only hope I can make it meaningful and engaging for you, and I will keep it very light. Not too many slides I'm going to show, because I believe these kind of interactions, these kind of discussions are more a two-way learning process where I also share, take your questions and try to answer them, as much as me giving you some bit of from my own experience. Yeah, so kindly make it participative, and I'm keeping it very, very light and very, very easy, right? So I've slightly modified the subject to, in my view, to suit the more burning issues. So in that sense, I've slightly amended the scope to say how CA can contribute, or how CA is can be a catalyst for business value creation for SMEs, MSME, and startups. During this session, I will also try to point out or try to indicate to this group, which I presume largely comprises of students or people who are embarking on their corporate journey or on their professional journey. It need not be corporate. Some of you could be getting into practice as well. So I will therefore, I'm contextualizing it to you. So if there are some people in the audience who are already expert and very senior, kindly pardon me, because I'm addressing it more for the young CA group, which is, I believe, is present in this audience. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to talk about, contextualize a little bit about what MSMEs and startup, what kind of challenges they throw. And whilst doing that, I'll also be saying how it is different from an established company, which usually is a more favorable employer of choice for most of you. But I want to just bring those elements which are very, very different with an MSME and a startup as compared to an established company. So that's what I'll attempt doing, whilst also trying to bring to you the challenges that most MSMEs face, not just in finance, but in their business model, in establishing themselves as a brand, etc., and also startups. So I'll be talking about both MSMEs and startups in that sense. Okay. So here I go. If there is any question, please stop me anytime during the session. As I said, I just got about 7 or 8 slides. I'm going to keep it very, very light and spend more time talking with you. Okay, rather than spending on my slides. So just as a matter of some statistics to drive home the importance of MSME and why MSME cannot be ignored. So they account for about 45% of the total Indian employment. This could be about a year old data, but still a very, very significantly large uh, employer to the, in India, right? And 45% is a very, very big chunk. And there are about 63 million MSMEs, so massive number, and contributes to about 30% of GDP, which is enormous when you consider the fact that there are some companies which are so very large that one company could be subsuming a few hundreds or thousands or lakhs of MSMEs in their fold. When you consider that fact, 6.3 million MSMEs contributing about 30% GDP is a phenomenal number, right? And there are about 100 unicorns in India. Our PM also was speaking a lot about it in a few diaspora sessions that he had. And this is a really matter of pride for India as to the number of unicorns that they have churned out over the last few years. I think they are the third largest matter of statistics. But having said that, there are significantly big challenges that these startups face. We'll come to that also, right? May not be some of those big ones, but a substantial part of the non-unicorn startups. Yeah. So let's start first with what is the challenges that MSMEs and startups have, which are a little different from those of established companies. They also have challenges. There are challenges for every entity, big and small. The big companies have their own challenge. Their challenge is how to preserve their value. Their challenge is how not to erode market share. They have their own challenges. MSME and startups have a different type of a challenge that they fight for existence every day. So that's a bigger challenge. It is like someone fighting for his daily food, versus someone else who's trying to maintain his bank balance. So there are significantly different kind of challenges, which I want this audience to appreciate. And I'm separately showing it for startups and MSMEs because I believe they are different. There are very good established MSMEs also. So therefore, I'm trying to uh, remove startup and not trying to put it as one single set of problems because startups face significantly different challenges and more heightened challenges than probably what MSMEs as a group do. So I think ideally, when you hear the word startup, you think of someone who's, a founder who started working in a co-working space, such as the one I'm speaking to you from. And at the most, there are a couple of guys, building a product, and either the product's in an ideation stage or the product has been just developed and not commercially very well influenced. That's typically the image or the impression that you get when someone talks about, uses the word startup, right? So essentially, startups are that they are built to disrupt some existing business model. So just to give a flavor, 15, 20 years back, and someone told you that, we will build a marketplace, we'll not hold inventory at all. We'll just make the buyers and the sellers meet on a platform and create a $1 billion valuation. You would have thought that guy is joking, right? So because the business model then was on buy cheap or buy in bulk, store and then sell because inventory was power, right? But then came a model for Flipkart and Amazon which said that, hey, inventory is no more that important as long as you're able to increase the access to that inventory through a platform, you can create a valuation out of that as well. So that is the ideation part that I'm talking about. And typically, they are always built on a future is bright syndrome. That is, today we are down in the dumps, we are bootstrapped, we don't have any funds to even pay the salary for the next month or probably for a few months after the next month. And but we believe that the future is great. This is typically what every single startup founder will say, that the future is phenomenal for it. It's a great business that is going to become a 100 crore company in about 2 years. He will say all that while he's struggling to make his first lakh. Yeah. So that is something that really typifies or explains a startup. and thus makes it very, very difficult for you to really buy that story, because you really invest in his belief, because you're not just working for the company, you're actually working on his belief, right? So that is the first challenge, and typically startups don't have a great market pull at that stage, because everything is in the future, everything is pushed to the future. The other big challenge which startups have is raising growth capital. So challenge getting the right investor is the key, essentially more than getting the growth capital, is getting the right kind of investor. Here I'm talking obviously about an equity investor. I'm not talking about debt at this stage, because when you don't have anything, you can't get debt. That is essentially borrowed to invest in operating cash cycle and then generate cash and then pay it back and then keep circulating that cash, right? That's usually why working capital debt is taken. But here you're actually building up the product, you're building up the necessary infrastructure that you need for the venture to grow. So therefore, that typically is a growth capital. And getting the growth capital is a big challenge, because you need to get the right investor, a person who believes in your belief. He's investing in your belief. Getting working capital is even a bigger challenge, because which banker is going to come and fund you? We heard a few good things from Sidbi. The very nice question was asked: are they also supporting service company? But the point I would like to know is at what stage? Certainly it will be difficult to raise money for growth, because the pressure, even if one does, if the startup does manage to raise a debt fund, the pressure of repayment will loom large, right? The interest, and then things will devolve, and then we will get into a very, very messy thing. So it is best for startups to stay away from debt till such time they have hit critical mass and they are able to generate a fair amount of cash from their operating cycle. And yeah, significant point. I think young, bright CAs would not want to join a startup, because they really don't know whether their salary for the next month is going to come or not. Well, they may, have a few shares of the company, but they really don't know if the cash salary is going to come, because there is a paucity of fund. There's always a shortage of fund, and there is same amount of fund is stretched by the company, and there are so many takers for it. The marketing wants it, the product team wants it, and the sales and marketing team wants it, the technology team wants it. So the same amount of fund has got multiple users, and often it results in a situation where there is a dearth of cash for even the most important of expense to be made. And thereby, young talents don't get into startups. MSMEs is a little bit similar, but their brand is established. Many times you have MSMEs operating in niche areas and areas where the scale is not very big, and there they do well, because where the scales are enormous, they can't match large corporate on the economies of scale, because they don't have that size, they don't have that infrastructure to kind of take on a large corporate. So they do very well in niche areas, products which are locally available, and which have a little bit of a personal touch to it. Yeah, so those kind of things, MSMEs are very good. And another very big business segment of MSME cater to large corporate as suppliers to them, for machine components, etc., etc. So their supply chain is very strongly dependent on large corporate. They don't have a very strong supply chain. When I say that, I mean where they buy from. Their suppliers are often fragmented, and they do not often have rate contracts. So I know one startup which always struggling on pricing. When I ask them why, they say that I fix the price and then the very next day my RM cost significantly change. I can't keep going back to the customer again and again. Right? How many times do I go? Right? I say, so why don't you put a margin and say that again is not possible, because the industry is so competitive. These days people insist on a clean sheet cost, which is most large companies actually ask you a demand that you show them their cost sheet, and a little bit of transparency is expected from MSMEs when it comes to their cost sheet. So if there is this constant struggle of discovering the right price, right, for MSMEs, their balance sheet, while it's definitely stronger than a startup, and there are we heard Daya saying that 250 crore MSMEs are fairly big. I'm largely talking about the sub 50 crores or 75 crore kind of MSMEs. They also have a decent balance sheet. I'm not telling that they are like a startup because they are. Most of them would be in a positive operating cash cycle scenario and would be making some profits. But the problem that they have is while they are able to manage some minimal working capital from the bank, when they get big orders, to fulfill the big orders, when they go to the bank for additional working capital, they get stuck there because so much is the bankers insist on the moon, right, for to even lend something above what they think is the comfort zone. So even the scheme such an ECLGS, which is an automatic government sanctioned scheme, emergency credit line guarantee scheme, it is not so easily available. You have to go to the bank, you have to request. It's so-called automatic, but it's pretty manual when it comes to how it is dispersed. And I'm saying this actually from experience. And the other big point is, again, this is linked to the second point, they're not able to command the right price owing to the limited negotiating power that they have. Most of their customers are 10 times, 15 times bigger than them. So there is always some kind of over dependence on your certain number of customers because they represent the critical mass of sales for the company, right? And like startup, MSME struggle also to get good people. And you'll be surprised here. In fact, I did an analysis once about in 2017 or 18. We actually, I don't want to name the company, it was a large IT company and actually saw the salary that they were offering to a young graduate. And then we picked up an MSME who's also checked the salary that they were operating. And the MSME that we picked was a company that was selling agarbattis, you know, which you use in home for in your Bhagwan ka room and all that, right? And we noted to our surprise, and this IT company that I'm talking about is one of the top four IT companies in the country. We are actually surprised to see that the MSME are actually offering higher salary than a fair bit more, about 20 to 25% more. And when we looked at it, we were initially very surprised. And when we looked at the JD, I found the JD which was offered by the MSME company was far more enriching than the JD which the corporate company was offered. So here you are, a large company, billion-dollar company, offering salary X to a new joinee, graduate new joinee, and here you are, MSME, offering worth a few crores top line at best, offering a slightly higher salary to the same guy, right? I was actually advising at that time a company which was in the employment consulting space. Yeah. And this actually took me by surprise and made me realize for the first time how much the MSME sector is actually ignored. People don't even go there. Even with such a low salary, you'll find a beeline of wannabe candidates outside the large corporates, right? So this is something which is as much an awareness issue, as much as it is uh, a lack of clarity among the students as to what they want. And when you don't know what you want, you end up going to the safest place, which is the large corporate, right? Where you know that it's a good brand and, whatever you get paid is one thing, but you feel more comfortable there, right? So these are essentially the challenges of MSMEs and startups. And we'll now talk about the differences between established companies and startups. I'm intentionally talking about startups here and not MSMEs because I wanted to show the two extreme ends of the spectrum, and then maybe somewhere fall in between the two, right? So for established companies, usually have a well-established brand, whereas brand is not so well-established as we discussed a while back for startups. And established companies have strong lag indicators. Lag indicators, just to, in case someone, a few of you don't know this term, lag indicators are nothing but your past numbers, legacy numbers. So, for example, if you pick a company like TCS, right? Just an example. And how would you judge? Suppose I want to evaluate, I'll straight go pick up the annual accounts and look at the last 2-3 years number, right? Because that's a very, very strong indicator of what the company is now, right? So they are strong indicators. They've been existing for a long time. They are one of the darling of the NSE, BSE, and so you get that connect with that company. So because they are strong lag indicators, strong history. On the other hand, startups are all about future. As I said earlier, the future is bright, right? So they don't have any lag indicators. For example, a company which could be having a top line zero could also be valued a fair bit, right? Because of the promise of the future, right? So there, what you need to look at, or when you're looking at an investor as an investor or an employee, is to see what the lead indicators are about the company. Lead indicators are nothing but those indicators which drive future revenue and profits of the company. Very simple, right? So for a technology company, lead indicators could be the number of visitors coming on the platform, the number of people signing up on the platform, right? The growth in traffic, etc. These are the lead indicators as far as a tech platform is concerned. The other thing which about established companies, usually the ventures are profitable significantly. So there is no concern with the cash. Uh, they won't dry out of cash. The salaries are fairly assured. Whereas startup is struggling. It's kind of a survival. At best, they are sure about the next 3 months. Or if it's a very, very well-funded startup, and you can ask anybody, they will say that the fund that they have raised will last for 18 months. So at best, it is an 18 to 24 months at best. I'm talking not about a unicorn startup. I'm talking about even a funded startup, right? So it's about at best visibility is for about 18 to 24 months. Just one second. Yeah. Or even less. If it is not funded, it is bootstrapped, it could be 3 months to 4 months. And usually the leadership team in an established company is a very, how do I say, it's very infrastructure is very strong. So there will be an independent board. And even if the founders are there, they will be there, obviously, the executive management, but you will also have professionals working in the company, right? So it's a very structured and established team. Whereas startups are usually founder driven, even till such point of time when they would have raised 7 or 8 rounds. Even then, the founder visibility in the company is very high. I'm not telling good or bad or anything. I'm not getting there. I'm not saying which is right, which is not. I'm just putting the facts on the table. And established companies, strong balance sheet and cash assets, startups burning cash and thus essentially no cash assets. Whatever cash is coming is earmarked for the future spend. So essentially there is no nuclear winter cash, or how do I say, sufficient cash set aside, right? Whatever cash is there is being burned to generate top line. Point of interest to all of you who are looking for a job or starting your professional life, offers good compensation. There will be lower cash compensation, but stock options, usually stock options tend to balance the compensation. But then mind you, these are unlisted shares. The word share should be read as shares, I'm sorry. It is unlisted shares, and which has its own set of challenges. Even if you do get the ESOP and you're able to exercise the options, what do you really do with the share unless you're planning to stay in the company for a very, very, very long time? And unless you have a clear liquidation plan in mind, which you relate to the founder. So these are some of the big differences which you need to appreciate. And you need to evaluate startups in the light of whatever I've said, and then take a call. Certainly more challenge is there in startup. It's like, if I give the analogy of a plane taking off and then flying at 35,000 feet above. So the takeoff stage is what is startup, and once you reach a particular height and where the pilot can actually switch it to autopilot mode, that will be more an established company where things are so institutionalized and process driven, that variability in outcomes are also that much less. Yeah. MSMEs will fall somewhere between these two extremes, right? Because as I said earlier, there are some good, profitable MSMEs, but certainly on brand and the leadership team and strong balance sheet, they wouldn't be able to compare with established companies. Maybe on compensation they can, as I said earlier. Not many people know, but MSMEs actually pay well, right? And they may also have lag indicators, but obviously it will not match the established companies. I'll take a pause here. If someone wants to ask me, or if you have any doubt, or if you have a query, or just a view, please do share. I want to make it as interactive as possible. And what is the process? People will put up in the chat box, is it? Yeah. Any thoughts, friends? Or do I go on? Can I ask the other facilitators there if we do pause down for a few questions, or should I just go on?
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, tell me, sir.
No. So I wanted to just, what is the process for the people to put forth the questions? Do they put it on the Q&A or on the
They
chat,
put
or
it
how
on,
is it?
no, they put it on the Q&A section, sir, and put it on the some chat also, sir. If not,
Okay,
they
fair
want
enough.
to talk to you, raise the hand, sir. Is the option is there?
Okay, fine. So I suppose there is, so everybody is fine so far. So I'll go ahead, and anyway, I'll keep about half an hour specifically for Q&A. There are only a few more slides, and that time we'll get to spend more time with you guys. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So now we'll specifically talk about the theme for the day, which is how CAs can create and preserve value in MSME stroke startups. So that's the topic for the day. And so we are going to talk specifically about it. And I'll also try to mention how it is different in established companies. While one may say that, finance is finance is finance, whatever you do, budgeting is a budgeting, whether you do for a large corporate or for a startup. Yes, fundamentally that point is correct. But the challenge is being different. The expected output is also significantly different if you're working for a startup as against in contrast to what you would be doing with a large for a large company, right? So basically, the first very essential element of a chartered accountant's work, or when I'm saying CA, I'm using CA as a to interchangeably, or rather, I will be doing that in future to any good finance person. CA is not to be understood just so it's not the practicing CA that would mean, I mean more as an employee CA or people who are working in the company. Many companies, MBAs also do this work, although I personally believe that CAs are better endowed to do this work, right? So one is, so for those chartered accountants employed as a finance manager, or designation could be anything, or an MIS or a financial planning analyst, etc. Typically, those are the roles that I'm explaining now. So one is validate the unit economics. So validation of unit economics is extremely important in startups. And to that extent, a little less important in MSME, because MSME would already establish the product. Startup is extremely important because, as I said earlier, a startup is like a moving water. Things are never stable there. You start a company, and then within 2 months, you start hiring people. The cost structure is not stable and not very well understood at that point. Therefore, it becomes very important for a finance person to completely comprehend, understand, and quantify and arrive at a unit economics. Unit economics, simply put, is nothing but what do I spend to make one marginal unit of product, which is also known as marginal cost. But I'll go a little beyond that. In my view, unit economics, you should also understand the dynamics of cost at different levels of product. Today, you may not have achieved it, but when you have some vision, right? You have a vision that I'll be selling about 1,000 units of a product, example, right? So you should be able to understand 1,000 units of a product. What is my, even the variable cost could come down because when you're doing more sales, so you're doing, let's say, 5 units now, and you're planning your pricing, keeping a critical mass of 1,000 units. So even the variable cost, while technically variable cost varies with scale, but there could be some economies of scale that can get built in when the volume is as high as 1,000 units, right? So these dynamics are very essential that someone understands. The reason I'm saying that, in a large corporate, it's already available. The company is already clocking huge numbers. So all historical numbers will give you the trend. But here there is no history. It's only about the future, right? So you need to be able to uh, uh, very as closely as possible be able to estimate what the cost level would be at a given range of operations, say about 1,000 units a month, right? And what happens if I do 2,000 units a month? What happens if I do 5,000 units a month? And tell the founder that, hey, your price, if you are looking near term 1,000 units, your price at 1,000 units, assuming your variable, semi-variable, and fixed costs are absorbed, which I don't have to explain, which I'm talking to CAs, is this, or if you're okay not making any profit and you want to defer profitability to a stage when you would possibly be doing 5,000 units, then probably at that stage when you would be doing 5,000 units, your profit should include the total cost, the overhead cost should be absorbed with that 5,000 units, right? And this is easier said than done because right now you don't have any numbers. Everything is estimation. So you need to estimate that. So this is a big, big difference in a startup or even in MSME, which is growing. I had this challenge when I was actually working for a startup and the business volumes were changing month on month. So when I would talk about the pricing, they will say, "Oh, no, the price is low because we are producing less volume than what we should." I said, "Okay, what's the ideal volume?" They will say twice. When they go to twice, they're still below cost. Then they will say, "No, no, we should go 4 times." So it's very imperative. It's very important that you are able to crystallize and put together a paper where you are able to discuss profitability at different levels and scales of operation. Yeah, that's a very, very important thing when you work in a small company. And the pricing model, therefore, which takes into account the absorption of costs and obviously recover a small amount of margin. At the end of the day, I'm not telling that you should be driving the price. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is you should be driving an awareness within an organization that what your ideal price should be so that you're able to recover, so that you're viable. That's the point I'm trying to make, because pricing ultimately is not in our hands, it's driven by the market, right? Now, coming to cash flow analytics, again, very significantly different from what you would be doing in a large corporate. Here, bulk of the analysis in cash flow is on burn analytics because the cash that you have is for 15 months, 18 months. Again, heightened in case of startup, but not significantly different for MSME also. Incidentally, I worked for a few MSMEs and I've advised them that this consumes the maximum amount of time that I spend for them, right? This is my weekly cash, where I am, how much cash I'm getting, when are my receivables coming, and how do I defer my vendor invoices to be paid. After that, I may get payments for my invoices. This catch-22 game is played there every day, every week, right? The another thing, maybe a little more for startups and probably a little less for um, the media MSMEs, is the runaway estimation, right? How long your cash is going to last, and therefore plan keeping that in mind. So if I know my cash is going to last only for 18 months, then I need to ensure that whatever minimal is to be spent has to be spent only out of that cash. And I do things, I evaluate options like lease versus buy. Instead of having a full-time accountant, I'm just saying that I'm speaking to accountants. Do I engage a GST consultant whom I pay purely on outcome basis and not as a fixed salary? So these kind of things are decisions which are taken and constantly reviewed in MSME. Nothing is static there. Right? It's not like a large company that you employ people and you don't mind if they turnover dips because the cushion is so very thick there, right? Well, all the above apply to startup. Yeah, last two more points on fundraise plans, working capital, growth capital. A substantial amount of time is consumed in, particularly on the growth capital, meeting investors and preparing investment teasers and telling the company the right time that they need the money. So if they need the money in month 12, they need to start marketing in month 2 so that they get the money by month 12. So all that kind of planning and whom do you approach, what kind of communication should go to investors. It's again a very, very big part of what you would be doing. You wouldn't be doing any of that in a large corporate, right? And working capital, again, an enormously difficult, seemingly simple. The banks make you believe that raising working capital fund is the easiest thing in the world, the child's play. But try raising money for an MSME company. Here I'm talking about MSME because startups really don't raise debt because they're still raising growth capital, right? Try raising working capital money for an MSME company. It's not easy at all. It's certainly not a cakewalk. A lot of documents are insisted, a lot of comfort factors, comfort you give, comfort, the financial point of view, which is guarantees, collateral cover, so much they ask for the moon, right? And I'm talking about profit making MSMEs. I'm not even talking about loss making MSMEs or sick companies. I'm not even going there. I'm talking about perfectly good, good balance sheet, profit making, albeit a small amount, profit making MSMEs, right? And one more thing which you need to do for small companies is they, as I said, they don't have too much of cash. So you need to ensure that whatever you spend, especially in the marketing side, especially in the sales and marketing side or the product side for that matter, there are strong lead indicators getting built. Revenue may not happen immediately. I'll give an example. Suppose you are spending quite a substantial sum in, let's say, in digital marketing, for example. Now, in digital marketing, so is my traffic growing? Okay, I'm spending this money. Okay, revenue is not coming. I can understand because it takes some time for they come, they experience the platform, then they sign up, then usually a 2 or 3 months free trial, and then they start paying, right? So here you need to at least estimate, are they at least understand, is the spend at least improving their lead indicators? Is it improving the traffic into their company, etc., into their website? So those kind of things is what you would need to check when you do the cash flow side. While, as I said earlier, most of them apply to startup, but almost all of them, minus probably raising of growth capital and burn and analytics to some extent apply for MSME also, particularly the point on raising working capital funds and all the significant challenge in MSME companies, right? Although there are a lot of stops that the government has announced. For example, there is a benefit called TREDS. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. TREDS is nothing but trade, receivable, exchange, discounting scheme or some such thing. It's basically a factoring scheme announced by the government, and there's a separate license issued to a lot of players, and some of the names, some of the players are the one I work with is a company called M1X. M1X is actually the brand, the company's name, some other thing, not able to recall. And the other one is RXIL. So they are people, these are the people who register a buyer and a seller on their platform. And is an off-balance sheet funding, which means and typically very helpful for MSMEs because MSMEs can't raise sufficient amount of working capital from banks. So what they do is they go to this platform and register as a seller, and they request their buyer to register as a buyer, which the buyer doesn't never ever willingly agrees because that means he has to commit to paying it on the due date on the platform, which he doesn't want to commit. So on paper, this is a brilliant initiative for MSME because it's an off-balance sheet finance. If it works, they got it done for one company. Because if it works, what essentially happens is I am selling to, say, Daya. Daya is a large company, and I put my invoice on the platform, and I get and there would be investors behind the platform, typically are banks, and the bank will discount the invoice and give you the fund immediately. And it's a factoring, by the way, it is not a bill discount. So the risk is off my balance sheet. I get the fund, and it's now between the financier and the buyer, right? So on paper, it's a brilliant, brilliant scheme, but not so patronized by the buying organizations because they don't want to sign up on a platform for an MSME company. That's the sad reality, right? So on the financial analytics, what they do largely, if you see, um, in a large company, use a lot of time is spent on the lag indicators, what went right, how you grew versus last year, how you grew versus last quarter, right? And etc. etc. That's what you typically do because the business is so big that you can't afford to lose even a small chunk. So you're very, very caught up with protecting your base, right? And so you analyze to depth on the cost, revenue, profits, cost, etc. In MSME, the significantly or a startup, you're typically doing a performance analytics against budget and saying that how you are versus budget. That's what you all your own targets, right? Or against similar companies which are in the similar state that you are in, right? And one exercise which is done, which has to be done in startup, I don't see any other way of projecting revenue than through a waterfall revenue exercise. I learned this when I was in telecom and extremely useful when you are projecting future incomes. Again, go back to the TCS example. If you ask me what the TCS income for the next year be, even I'm just making a wild kind of a guess. Don't go literally by what I say. All I need to do is to take the past year and see some trends on how IT is growing and all that. Some inflation adjustments. I can pretty much punt a number if no inorganic acquisition is considered. Of course, if they've done an inorganic acquisition, it can go double of that. I can do a fair bit because the revenue trending is largely in line, right? Because most of the geographies they've gone to critical mass is very big and it can grow by that much for the next year. And the startup is starting on a very, very small base, and every day you're growing. So the number that they consider while budgeting is not last year, but the exit number of this week or this month. So, for example, if you're doing a budgeting for a startup company or any small company, which is, let's say, done 20 lakhs or 20 crores top line in the last year, and started April with a number of 5 crores, for example. So the revenue for the current year is not driven by 20 anymore. It's driven by the MRR, the monthly run rate that you are trending today. So it will be 5 into 12, ideally, plus minus some additions. So this is known as a waterfall. We are basically taking the current trend and building a revenue structure which tails into the future, right? And gives you an idea of what your top line will be this year, next year, the year after that. There is a science behind it, and it has to be understood because for that you need to sit with business, understand how they're going to acquire customers, how much the customer is going to give you each month, each year, and therefore what the top line will be a year down the line. So that's pretty much how it is done. The other thing is, of course, cash requirement and funding, etc. So this is typically how a CAs can contribute in this area. I'm not covering accounting per se because that's usual. That does not change. That I agree with you. An entry for a share capital in a large corporate and an entry for a share capital in an MSME or a startup is same. That's why I'm not talking about controllership or accounting function at all. Not to say it is not important, it's very important. So I'm not talking about GST and all that, because those are application of the rules, that you anyway know, right? So there is an output GST, there's an input GST, you set it off, you match it against 2B, and then you pay it. Those are very, very similar. There's no different because they are all purely functional, right? I'm talking about the differences where the business comes the business understanding is important. And the stage of evaluation of a company is different. When you're in a mature stage, you do different work, which is largely about protecting the base, protecting what you have, protecting your turf. And when you are in a struggling, growing company, you're essentially driving the future. So significantly different way of working, right? Coming to the last point on valuation, valuation is largely future-proof. So no startup will ever give you a valuation based on past for the simple reason they don't have a past, right? For the simple, right? Um, so it's like this. It is a company is today formed. It is built a beautiful product, tech product. It's got about few thousand customers and did at about 2 lakhs turnover last year. But its valuation could be 25 crores or 100 crores. It's all about the future. It's all about the differentiated platform they have built, probably the IP that they hold, and what is the future revenue streams. So you usually build a discounted cash flow method um, to predict the future, right? And then the valuation is therefore nothing but a function of your future revenue streams. As against that, if you're talking about a large corporate, the valuation is a very simple exercise. If it's a listed company, you know the market cap valuation in any case. But conceptually, even if the stock is not on the market, conceptually, a valuation is nothing but a multiple of their lag indicators. So if a company is trending on an EBITDA of, let's say, 100 lakhs and the market multiple, which is the number of times the profit or the top line, the valuation of a company for a particular sector is, let's say for a particular sector, it is 30 multiple. So if a company is, let's say, doing 1 crore, just for a simple example, bottom line, and the multiple is 30, so 30 crores is the value because you have a history, you have a legacy number, and you just go there and do that. It's substantially different for a startup, yeah, because the critical mass has not yet been reached, right? So now, but how do you do a DCF calculation is also a little different because usually what happens in the startup is if you are at an early stage, or again, any early stage venture, if you are at an early stage, you are still 2 years away. Let's say you are in year zero, you build a product and all that, but you still say with the best of efforts you can reach critical mass only from let's say year 2 or year 3, for example, right? So then do you do a DCF from, let's say, 10th year to year 0 or you stop at year 3? Two schools of thought. One is to say you do from 10th year and come down to third year because that's where the critical mass of the business is. The revenues and profits are in those 7 years. So you predicate that number, you come out with a valuation, but then you will say that valuation is for the end of third year. So how do you come back to the present value? Then you discount, you chat with your investor and say, hey, this is the valuation on third year, but he'll say, hey, but that's fine, boss, but I'm investing right now. So you give a particular 1x or 2x of that to me. So you divide that value by 2x to come to present value. So it's a the price discovery is not a very pure science. And therefore the role for a CA is very critical there. I know most of them go by formula-driven approach, which is you do a perpetuity valuation and then you do a DCF and then add that. Perfectly right. When I was doing a lot of MSME company valuation, I went with that. Again, DCF, we never ever looked at the last balance sheet for the valuation for MSMEs also. I've always done based on future. But there since the business is already running, I take from current year and predict the next 7-10 years. But if it's a startup with nothing and nothing likely for the next 2 years, you may start after 2 years also. You can put forth your point, right? So valuation also comes with a significant set of challenges, which are very different for an MSME or a startup company as compared to an organized or an established company. So this essentially is how you have to work and you have to deal with an assignment with a startup or an early stage company or an MSME, whether that be as an employer, as a consultant, really it doesn't matter. It's ultimately you deliver value. So you can do that and as an employer, as a consultant, as a stakeholder, as an investor, as just an advisor. So you can, but these are the various elements that you need to consider. It's a very high risk, high reward game. Not everybody has the appetite to play this game, right? The founder has already played it, and so he has already played his game, right? But the choice is on you whether you want to also join and believe his dreams and walk the journey with him, right? So yeah, with that I come to formally to the end of it. As I said, I had just about a few slides, and so thanks for the introduction that is given about me. I am co-founder, director at Vanman, which is an advisory firm I set up about 3 years back. And I'm also partner with CFO Bridge, which is a company with about 30 to 32 partners across the country. And many very, very talented chartered accountants and MBAs who work with us. In fact, we go more for CAs, by the way. And they work as associates with us. And people who are a partner like me, we bring business to the firm, and so work as founders. So we call ourselves founders actually here, because we bring our own contacts and business into the company. And the usual service that we render is the retainer CFO service. And largely, most of the 300 plus clients are MSMEs and startups. Some are startups, most of them are MSMEs. And whatever I've spoken to you on the last slightly less than 1 hour is largely around my experiences built around my working with MSMEs. And I've worked at very close quarters. I've seen how they really struggle. What some things which are taken for granted in corporates is a matter of struggle here, right? So, but there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun because you're doing something which is either very new or quite niche, and therefore you're creating significant value, right? So, yeah, with that, I would come to an end, and I would request the audience to put up any questions or even share your thoughts. It need not be a question. You can even share your thoughts with me, and or if you have any disagreement on any of the points, I would love to hear that and also learn some new things from you guys. Yeah. So with that, I kind of conclude my delivery at this point, and I'll stop share, and I'll look forward to some questions coming from your side.
Please request your any queries regarding the questions to sir and this thing session.
I think they've all had a very, very long day. How many sessions we've had today?
2 sessions, sir. First session, SIDBI GM sir has taken, RVR Prasad sir. Pawan Goyal sir.
Yeah. Pawan, I read your question and I'm able to read. It's okay. You don't have, unless I missed something, in which case you tell me, otherwise I'm able to read. Yeah, so MSME listing is a very good question. Interestingly, my firm has come out with a product on listing services for SMEs. We call it managed CFO service for SME listing, right? Yeah, Pawan, you want to speak?
Yes, sir. If provided an opportunity, please.
Opportunity is there. Yeah, please go ahead. Thanks for asking a question in the first place. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. There's one small query which I have. I recently attended one BSc MSME listing seminar, and that was around 6 months back, wherein I got an opportunity to meet the BSc head. So the thing was like this. He mentioned to us that we can take MSMEs for listing, and there would be some cost involved.
Yes.
I don't know how practical it will be. First thing. Second thing is, they said there is also a parallel platform by name Startup BSc Exchange. So basically, there are 2 platforms. One is made for MSME, another one is made for startups.
Hmm.
So the second obvious question comes in: is it better to go through a startup route because the rules are little bit relaxed through the as compared to MSMEs? We have two proposals from our client who are basically looking for capital markets to raise not a big amount, 3 to 4 crore rupees.
I understand.
Suggest them to
Yeah.
go for it, or bank is the ultimate option? Thank you.
Oh, great question, Pawan. Thanks. So I will answer the first one. The second one on the startup one, I will not throw some light here. I'll just try to get a little more informed. But I know a little bit about the SME listing. So typically, as we all know, listing there are two boards. One is the main board and one the MSME board, as we all know. And the main board is the main board, which is the main IPO where large cap and small cap and medium cap stocks are there at present, and we know the listing process. There is no cap and all that. Now, in a SME listing is also, by the way, not something very new. It's been there for a decade plus. However, has happened in SME listing is, and this you can give as a feedback to the company that is looking, is SME listing has become a very prioritized area. Okay, and I don't know whether you are aware of this. Recently, with Telangana government, not BSC, NSC has signed the pact. So because NSC is also, two boards are there in any case. Both platforms are available for SME. So they signed the pact, and there is a lot of awareness which is being provided on the SME listing. It's far more simpler. Your DRSP need not be reviewed by SEBI. It's enough if it goes to the exchange, and your quarterly things you don't have to publish it as half yearly, right? And the process is also pretty simple, and the compliance. So it's a good step process. A lot of people look at SME. I don't know about your company, but if he's talking about 3 or 4 crore, I suspect he's looking at listing as a method to get more recognition in the market, because the listed stock has more volatility than an unlisted stock. It can be collateralized, etc. So I guess he's looking at it not so much from a 3-4 crore he could have raised any other way, right? If he's looking at raising 3 to 4 crore through SME, he's looking at the listing status more than the money, right? Which is also fine. I know many companies which do raise about 5 to 6 crore. So that is a good route, but he has to evaluate the cost, and you need to help him, because there will be a merchant banker, the usual merchant banker charge, and there is a market making charge, because the price has to be held. The price cannot fall. So he needs to get and I'm sure you're aware, SME IPO, the listing is underwritten 100% by the merchant banker, right? So merchant banker also takes a big risk, so as to say here, and needs to ensure that the stock doesn't get into a free fall. So there is a market making element here. So all in all, worth a call. 3 to 4 crores sounds too small, unless the purpose is just to get a listed status to his name. I don't know what you mean by startup listing. I know about SME. I know main board. I personally don't know. I'll check with some of my friends in T-Hub, and then if possible, I'll come back to you with that.
Thank you so much, sir. If provided an opportunity, I would want to meet you in person. So because we can also exchange knowledge, and I can share some details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
I
you
think
so
my
much.
coordinates are there, and you can take a look at that. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Pawan, for being the first person to raise a question. Anybody else? Please feel free.
I think no questions. I think there are no other questions.
Okay, great. So what do we do? Do we close the session, or we wait for some more time?
If there are no other questions, we'll close the session, sir. There's no point in waiting.
Yeah.
Okay,
members.
Members.
One more. Pawan.
Pawan Goyal, I think he just asked the questions. He's the one.
Details is asking more. It's more one-on-one thing. Can you share my contact with Pawan? Yeah.
I will share your number to Pawan, sir. Pawan, I know him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, members. Since there are no other questions, we are formally closing the session. Before we close the session, may I request Hyderabad branch staff to share the virtual memento to sir as a token of respect. Please, Santosh. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. It's really an honor to be present here and address my own brethren, which is chartered accountants. We're all CAs, so we should often meet on such platforms. Yeah. And thanks for having me over. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks a lot, Deepak, and the ICA branch. Yeah, thanks.
Sir, I sincerely thank you for on behalf of Hyderabad branch of SIRC of ICI. We hope in future also you continue to help us regarding these topics. Once again, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for MSME committee for conducting this wonderful